Let's do another full editing demonstration. So I'm going to edit this photo of Sam here. I think it'll be a cool one to use. And the first thing that I'm going to do is crop it. I think this one would look very good with Sam sort of centered. With motion, I don't like having him on the left-hand side of the frame. If he was more on the right-hand side of the frame, it might look better. So if I crop in, put him more on that right-hand side like so, that to me looks a lot more natural than having him on the left-hand side of the frame like this. With motion, typically you want to have the person or the thing that's moving, you want to have them moving towards the more open side of the frame like so. It just looks a little bit more natural and balanced. If you're going for that sort of unbalanced look, by all means, that's totally fine to do it that way. And just a quick note, I am going to go through this edit a little faster. If I am going too fast, if you're watching this on Udemy, you can use the video player options and you can actually speed down the playback of any of these lessons or even speed it up if we're going too slow so that things might be a little bit more at your own pace. So the first thing I'm going to do to make this black and white is click this black and white button, or you can press V on your keyboard as the keyboard shortcut to enable this black and white. And now that's a better way of doing it because then I can go in and adjust the black and white mix of specific colors. Say I didn't do that, and then I went down to saturation and I made all my adjustments for like the tone and the exposure. And then I was like, actually, I want to go into the black and white settings. When you do that, it changes sort of the look of some colors. So the proper way to edit a black and white photo is to first enable this black and white setting, and then we can go back into our exposure adjustments up here to make some adjustments. So with a black and white photo, I typically like it to be really contrasty. So here I'm going to bring down the blacks, and if I hold the option key, I can see when things are becoming too black, completely pure black with no information. And sometimes I'm okay with that. I'm okay with parts of the image being completely black. I do want to increase the contrast, so I'm going to bring up the highlights and the whites just a little bit. I don't want to lose too much information. Holding the option key down, I can see that I'm losing some information of those whites, so I'm not going to go too crazy. And then with the shadows, we will just see, I think I want to bring up the shadows to actually have more information on his shirt, kind of in the shadows of his face. Cool, so this is starting to look pretty good. I will boost the clarity just overall, but there's parts of this image that aren't as sharp as I want them. Now, we talked about how with the sharpness filters in Lightroom, you can make things that are slightly out of focus appear a little bit more sharp. This isn't going to make something blurry appear in focus, but let's test it out. So I'm going to actually take my adjustment brush filter right here, change the size, press O so that our selected mask overlay is on. Make sure my flow is all the way up, and I'm just going to paint over Sam and his shirt. I'm going to probably do another adjustment to his shirt because that's really what I wish was a little bit more in focus, but I think his face could also be a little bit more in focus too. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Press O to turn off the mask overlay. And it looks like I actually had some settings already set. So let me undo these by double clicking each setting. And I'm going to just increase the sharpness and the clarity just a little bit. Actually, no, I'm not going to do the clarity because that's messing up with his face. But the sharpness, let's go around like 50. Now I'm going to click to create a new brush and just paint over the logo here on his shirt. And again, I have those settings from before. Let me get rid of those. And I press O to see where I painted, just to make sure. Yep, covering both logos. And now let's increase the clarity of this. So turning this on and off, on, you can see that it has a little bit more detail, especially where it says Los Angeles, which this is the logo for the LA Football Club, LAFC, the new football team here in LA. But it's not going to make this down here in focus where it says football club. But that helps just a little bit. Cool. So I kind of want to make Sam stand out from the background a little bit more. Yes, the background is fairly blurry, but I feel like because it's sort of, I guess, like maybe neutral grays, Sam just doesn't stand out as much as I want. If it was more blurry, it might help. So I'm going to take the radial filter, and it still has these old effects that I applied to it. To reset all these, just double click effect right there, and it sets everything to 0 there. So now I'm going to create a circle sort of radius around Sam. And then I'm going to use my brush to add or subtract. So let's press O to have our selection. And I'll use my brush and then click erase. I'll make sure my flow is up pretty high. Auto mask is off. Actually, auto mask might work kind of well for this. So let's just paint off. We'll do auto mask when we get to his head. Just paint off all this is fine. If you want to get pretty specific, we could paint this part in between his arms in the background back on. So let's turn auto mask on, make the brush a little bit smaller, paint over his head. And that works a little bit better. It kind of knows that I'm trying to select or erase off of his hair, but not off of the background. See how that's doing that? So that's a pretty cool way to just sort of paint off someone's hair. Let's make sure his whole face is painted off of. Now let's go back to brush A on. Let's drop the size, turn on auto mask. Let's just paint in here. Now it'll know that I'm not really trying to select his shirt. Okay, so it's a little bit of fine tuning. Let's make sure up here is selected. That's looking pretty good. Let's just erase a little bit more along his sunglasses. There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, see, you could spend hours doing this kind of stuff. At least I could. Okay, then let me press O. So now I'm going to adjust the exposure. So I'm just going to take the overall exposure and increase it. See how when I do that, Sam starts to sort of pop out from the background a bit more? I'm going to undo that and then just see what bringing up the shadows does. Sometimes bringing up the overall exposure starts to look a little unnatural. And so I'll then move to just affecting the shadows. Both kind of work well. I think bringing up the overall exposure just a little bit works. And then let's bring up the shadows as well. Let's also, just while we're at it, decrease the sharpness, make it a little bit blurrier. Something like that looks even better, I would say. Maybe not so extreme. You can play with the clarity. That looks a little bit too ridiculous, Phil. But maybe a little bit like that. And that's looking pretty good. We can turn this on and off to show you the before and after. See how Sam starts to pop a little bit more? That's what my goal was with using that sort of adjustment. Lastly, let's go into these black and white filters and see what happens when we're adjusting specific colors. So there are some auto settings, but we can go in here and fine tune it. So like with yellow, bring up the exposure. That might be pretty good to get some of that background exposure so Sam stands out even more. And then the oranges, that's going to get some of Sam's skin. So bring it up. I don't like so much. Maybe bring it down just a little bit more from where it was at. Let's look at the green. There's a little bit of green in the background. Again, bringing up that exposure just a little bit. Looks pretty cool. And so that's a way you can fine-tune specific colors. We can see the before and after just to show you what the work we've done. There we have the before and after. Looking pretty good. We can also swap the sides. So if you want to do like this split screen and swap it, you can press this button right here and it swaps which side you're seeing the before and after, which is kind of cool too. All right, that's my full edit for this photo. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in another lesson.